I read an article today at MMA Fighting. It was written by Stephen Morocco. I was the one being interviewed. I read my own interview. But the topic that Morocco brought up, and I thought it was a fun conversation, which was, who would you compare Adesanya to? Would you couple him in with Anderson Silva? Would you make more of a comparison towards John Jones, or is he his own entity? Well, first off, let's stop right there. He's his own entity. Okay, great. Second question. What can he do to avoid pitfalls of those who came before him? And I maintain very strongly that I am seeing no signs of Adesanya stepping on some of those landmines. And I'll personalize this for you on a much smaller level. I'm not talking world champion that's selling out arenas all over the world and becoming an international superstar, but on a smaller level, I have one teammate to this day that went on The Ultimate Fighter and is still my teammate. When I came through Team Quest, we probably had more success than anybody in terms of getting athletes placements on The Ultimate Fighter. And I think it just goes back to Randy Couture being the original coach. Randy and Chuck, just to remind you, Season 1 Ultimate Fighter were the coaches. And so Randy just had an in right away to pick his. We had 3-4 guys on that season. We had 3-4 guys on the next season. We had 2-3 guys. I mean, just so on and so forth. We have been so represented through the Ultimate Fighter, but I will tell you, I've never had anything draw division amongst the team I was on more than the Ultimate Fighter. It was just one of these simple things where guys went out and they saw the camera and the lights and the smoke and the mirrors. Now all of a sudden other people were talking to them. And one thing that happens when you have success, you don't now have opportunities that you wouldn't have had before. You do not now have a level of access to people that you wouldn't have had before. You now have access to a higher level of scumbag than you had before. Instead of the guy at your local coffee shop coming up to you with a terrible business model and a rotten idea and he's going to take your money, right? I mean, business only has 3 steps. You can read it until you're blue in the face. You've got 3 steps. You have an idea, you have funding, you have execution. Most people stop at the funding. They come up with an idea, they find the money, next thing you know, they got a new car, execution never happened. Sorry guys, you lost everything. It's one of those deals. But I would have more teammates go through the Ultimate Fighter and somebody throw an arm around them. Somebody tell them what stars they were, everything that was being mismanaged within their career, what they could be getting, how they should be doing it, where they would be living. They were gone. I had one teammate that went through the Ultimate Fighter, Ed Herman, who is my teammate to this day. That's it. I bring that to you, not to put down my friend. I'm very good friends with all those guys. I don't resent any one of them. I was just an outsider looking in. I never went through the Ultimate Fighter, but I saw it happen one by one. And when they would leave, we didn't know. We didn't know they were going. Then you have to kind of like put 2 and 2 together and they'd come back. Oh, you were just doing the Ultimate Fighter. You know, they had to keep their mouth shut on it. But it was one of those things where they come back and go, man, I better enjoy whatever time I have with them left because once this thing airs, they're going to be gone. And they were, one by one. There's always something about getting some level of success met with some level of defeat where you throw the baby out with the bathwater. You go get a new coach. First thing you do, some level of defeat, you go get a new coach. Johnny Walker is doing it right now. He's already done it. It's done. He's in Ireland now. He's at Straight Blast Gym. I do not begrudge him. I'm just offering you him because it's a very recent example. In the boxing world, it's not even a maybe. Not even a maybe. Wilder lost a fight to Fury and fired his cornerman before they left the ring. I mean, it's one of these things where you just turn them through. I couldn't imagine doing that. I couldn't imagine. What if Clayton did that to me? I go lose a fight. Clayton says, I'm done training. What are you talking about? We're doing this together. We're learning. I mean, that would never happen. I could barely even form those words. Clayton would never do that to me, but I would never do that to him. What are you talking about? We're in this together. But it's one way to stay grounded. I mean, it's just one of those things. And guys that don't do that in their heads, it's one of these really weird things. You do not have access to more opportunities. You have access to a higher level of scumbag. And when I look at Adesanya, who goes out and has these fights, goes right back in the room to go get Hooker ready for a fight, to help Volkanovski, to help these other teammates. You know, they were locked down in the pandemic. They didn't know what to do. So they moved into the gym. All of them. Coach and everybody moved into the gym. Sleeping bags on the floor, pillow, roll it up at night, get in the shower, go get a workout in. Bring food in. They stayed there like a tight-knit family, like a group. I suggest that for you because that is something that's very different about Adesanya. He's not out running around. I don't see Adesanya on TMZ leaving the club at 2 in the morning. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that invite him out and would like to do. He's in the same town. You know, I made this same argument for Stipe when people are trying to point what his success is. Why is he different? I tie it all back to that fire department. That fire department keeps him in the same location. It stops him from going out to New York City, to going to LA, to going to Vegas in the Performance Institute. It just stops him. He's got to be at work. I think he goes in 4 days a week, which means he sleeps in the same bed, which means he eats at the same restaurants, and more importantly, that he's at the same gym with the same teammates and the same coaches doing the same thing. It's very real. And not only does it help to add to your success, but it avoids those pitfalls. It avoids those distractions, right? Everybody's going to go let their hair down in some fashion. But the less that you do it, and with the same entrusted circle, where are we going? Who's driving? When are we coming back? I mean, there's just ways to do things a little bit more responsibly, even if you are trying to let your hair down. It may sound simple on Adesanya, but it's not that simple. It's a very big deal. I think Adesanya's phone is, hey man, come train with me. Hey, I've seen what you're doing. I've really got the answers here, right? And athletes go for that. Athletes just want to get better. If they could go somewhere to get a skill and get better, they'll do it. They should do it. It makes all the sense in the world. But if you're the champion, you're doing a great job, it sounds as though those people should be coming to you. It sounds as though you do have the answers. You don't have to go over with this coach because he's got the answers. You go over with this coach. Stay with your team. Once you stay locked down, when you're sleeping consistently in the same bedroom every night, that just as a piece has a domino effect that will lead to other positive things. When you are training with the same people in the same ways, in the same facility, twice a day, every day, they got you somewhere to start with, it leads to very good things. It leads to less distractions. When you have these opportunities, you don't make your circle bigger, you make your circle tighter. You make it smaller. Keep a real small circle. But that will also is conducive to longevity in the sport and not these pitfalls. And I do think that is the difference with Adesanya. I'm just not seeing any of that. He even talks what he does with his money. He goes out and invests it. He's a real estate guy, but he goes out and invests it. He's not out buying Lamborghinis and acting a fool. It's the Charles Barkley, right? You don't go buy a Ferrari your rookie year. You wait till you retire and you go buy the dealership.